All righty. Thank you so much for coming. And basically, just a couple of housekeeping tips. We'd like for you to turn your phone off if that's okay. And then, no, it's not okay. But yes, turn your phone off. And then the other thing is that for we have some questions, and we have a couple of people that will be handling the microphone for the questions. It's back there. Okay, so we're going to get started, and usually, as we always get started with the pledge.
Okay, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And can we have a moment of silence for our military, both here in the United States and those that are overseas, those that are still in and those that have passed on? Thank you. As usual, keep our police officers safe.
Thank you very much. All right, introduction of the committee. We have Stephanie McDowell and Andy Henderson in the back. We have Jerry Monahan. We have Kathy Craven and Frank Hilberg, Mike Corbett, and basically we have Donna Gilbert, who's not here today, and myself, Anita Worthen. We always have, and we're so happy to always have, our cooperation with our Beaumont Police, and we know that we have Officer Loza here. So give him a hand.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all again today. Is anybody's first time here at all? All my regulars? I'm Officer Loza. You guys know me, Robert. Department really doesn't have nothing. We've been really good on our growth. We have 5, I believe, new hires coming along. We have our new motor officer in training now, so that's going to give us our 2 motor officers coming up soon. 2 additional motor officers are going to be coming, so I'll have a team of 4 shortly. So as soon as our new hires come through and they get passed up, we'll fly the positions and then get the our traffic team going up pretty soon. I do have one thing to share with you guys. Did anybody attend our Citizens Academy here? 1, 2. Okay. Well, I wish there was more. No, I'm just kidding. I know you guys are busy. But anyways, we're starting up again. It's going to be Wednesday, September 7th. And it goes for 8 weeks on Wednesdays from 1 to 3. So the Citizen Academy, if you guys don't know what it is, it's it's a couple classes that we put on, and we just explain how we do certain things, whether it be tactics that we use, some equipment that we use, pepper ball, tasers, and stuff like that. Explanations on all of our different teams, like our homeless liaison team, my portion, the business liaison, our PAC unit, our MET unit, and detectives, and they'll give all the explanations on how they work, how we work all together, how we go throughout the investigations, and just in general roundtable with the attendees, and just try to give you guys whatever information we can. So it's a good little thing you guys want to attend. Again, it's on September 7th, I believe. What did I said? And then if you would like to join, it's on our website. So just go to the beaumontpd.org. I believe it's Beaumont PD, yes. beaumontpd.org, and then you can sign up there. So Um, Additionally, please, I know this is a recorded record or whatever, just continue to lock up your doors, lock up your houses. Don't be complacent. Don't leave your purses inside your vehicles or any type of merchandise on the front seat or the rear seat when you guys are out shopping. Make sure you either put it in your trunk so that way it's not visible for thieves. I haven't had any recent, that I know of, calls for service here in Four Seasons regarding burglaries or thefts, which is great, but that doesn't mean that, that it's not present, So just, yes, sir. So he was just bringing up the influx of fraud text messages and calls. And he's absolutely right. I got one from Chase saying that my Chase account is overdrawn or something like that and fraudulent use, but I don't have a Chase account. So I text them back some nice language, and then they stopped texting me for now. But yeah, definitely just be aware of those text messages. Some of them will come in and they are pretty convincing. So if you're talking to somebody on the phone, they are complete, how could I say, they're trained. It's their job. They're in big buildings, high rises, and, from what I understand and videos that I've seen, it's their job to scam people out of money. So just be aware, they're trained, they're professionals. If it doesn't sound right, just hang up, say, okay, I'll contact my bank or my whatever utility bill, and then pick up the conversation with them, and just to be sure. Make sure also, run it by your neighbors or your friends, just to ask if this is, they think it's legit. So, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yep. 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 The IRS will not. IRS will not call. The jails will not call to have you bail out your son or your grandson. Yes, ma'am. No, it was actually cleared out recently by banning the wash right here, South Highland Springs. And I went down there also recently to check, and there hasn't been one. They did clear out their major encampment, if you guys haven't noticed, over there off of Hargrave. So we were expecting a big influx of that population to come over here, but thankfully, we haven't seen too much of a big influx that's come over here, but they have been addressed. Yes, ma'am. I apologize. So she's asking about gunshots in the wilderness area, South Highland Springs, correct? Just give us a call. We'll take it case by case basis. Don't hesitate to call, because if you don't call, then we're not going to go out there. But yeah. Yes, ma'am. They're out there riding their motorcycles and yeah, and yes, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Just talk. Don't be afraid to go to your neighbor and talk and say, hey, see how they are, see where they hide keys, or just say, hey, do you mind, do you want to share keys with me, just in case something happens, we need to get into your house. Officers don't have to break down the doors, or fire department doesn't have to break down the doors. And that's it. But it was great. It was sorry, it wasn't great. It was actually it was sad, but neighbors brought it to our attention that they haven't seen their neighbor in quite a while, and then we came out and with fire department and determined somebody had passed away. So just be a good neighbor. That's all I can say for that. Be a good neighbor. Know who you live with.
And that's a part of our neighborhood watch, and that's why we do this. So, your neighbor is not only the person that's right in your same block, but your neighbor is friends, they're people, this is a community. So this is why we try to make sure that we have our meetings. We always ask you to just please check on your friends. Make sure that if you don't see it, just so far, what we do in our block is that we open up the blinds. If the blinds are not opened up for a while, somebody knocks on your door and say what's going on. But thank you very much. We appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day, guys.
Okay, we meet the second Wednesday of the month at 10 o'clock in the morning, of course. Thank you for being here. If we have your email, if not, and then just sign in there. The questions, basically, we have the list, and we will be reading those off. He already talked about it because I had to be careful of solicitations, phone, email, scams, and we actually will have, it depends on the board approval tomorrow at the board meeting, but we will be having a CHP Safe Driving for Seniors class. We had one last August, and so look for the flyer once it's approved by the board on tomorrow at the board meeting. Then we will have 50 slots available, and you would need to check with your insurance company to see if you get a discount. And the last time people took it, there were quite a few who got a discount on their insurance because it is put on by the California Highway Patrol. This is a great opportunity to learn all about the history of Four Seasons. So with that, we will have our general manager, Eric Zarr, to come up. And while he's coming up, there are some more flyers in the back and brochures on the water saving tips and drought. Thank you, Eric.
Just let me get set up real fast. I'll need that one. And I'll move back just a little bit so other people can see. So thank you for coming. For a little presentation. I did want to say that this presentation is sponsored by Sweet James. So if you need insurance, you're in an accident, please call me. I mean, Sweet James. So I get that all the time. You look like, even my kids say, like, you're Sweet James. Like, I'm really not. I'm really not. So we're going to go over some of the history of Four Seasons, some current projects, some future projects, a little bit of did you know, some questions I get about violations, so kind of some overarching things that we have, and then the drought, which I know we have some questions about that as well. So Four Seasons was created with a specific plan that was developed by the builder, K. Hovnanian. The first submittal of that plan was in 2004. It's had 6 revisions so far, the last one being in 2016. It's 254 pages of diagrams and notes and just a ton of information of how the builder is going to actually build this property. It's very detailed. It's filed with the city. I don't think we have it on our website, but I believe it is on the city's website, so it can be found there. And it's a really interesting document. It's got diagrams of parks, just a ton of different things. That's what we looked like in 2002. Not a lot here. Dirt, farmland, Sun Lakes over there, and they're friends, but they're Sun Lakes. And the dot right there is where the lodge is. That's where we are right now. That's the Crooked Creek, or the Potrero Creek that goes down and out of the property. And between 2002 and this picture is from 2007 in July, where the developer flew over the property. We've got a lot of old pictures from the developer that we're going to have in this presentation that we haven't had in previous ones, which is kind of neat. So that is Walmart. That's Home Depot. There's the CHP. There's no Highland Springs Medical Center. And you can see the lodges here, but there's nothing really up around this area. And this is looking from south, looking north. Still the same time frame, being back in July of 2007. So 5 years, had a lot of stuff happening here, which is pretty neat. And to do that, this is taken from that specific plan. They had to cut and fill 5 million cubic yards of dirt. And so there's cut, there's fill, there's a lot of different grades in here you can see. I will say that there are no views, even though that we have that variation in height. I know people had bought some properties, but we're not going to get into that today. Just saying that there's no views. And how they did it, this is a video that was taken over in section C2, looking down into the like Stellar Peak, that area. And they'd actually have to have 2 loaders. That front one would be cutting, and the second one will hook up to it in a sec and help push it because it's so much weight, one of them couldn't do it by itself. And they were doing that for several years. He does get there. And I like my job. I would not want, he's going to be here in a second. So now he's pushing. I would not want to be him. Just standing there, hoping, like, I hope they see me. The safety jacket's really going to work. So the original plan called for 2,321 homes in the community, which is more than what we have now. We're built out, in essence, at 1,853. And those additional 400 or some homes would really make a big contribution to the association with over $1 million in revenue each year. So that is quite a bit of a loss that we have. But the builder changed their plans throughout the course. That's why we're on the 6th revision. There were changes in the market, which we'll get to in a minute. So things did change. One of the things that changed was how we look. That's the original Crooked Creek entrance back in, I believe it was March of 2006. Looks a little different than it does now. And that's the main gate entrance. And the entrance at Crooked Creek would have looked like that as well because they're twins of each other. And when one of the Hovnanian brothers came out to tour the property in 2006, looked at that, and from what I've been told, his reaction was, meh. He didn't really like it. So by December of that same year, they redid all the entrances to have the stonework that we currently have, which I think looks fantastic and is a little bit different than Sun Lake's. And again, by December, main gate looks a little bit different. So I guess the owner of the company coming in and saying, meh, really got them to get moving on changing that. So I talked a little bit about how the market changed things. And the market really took a downturn, as we know, back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, in that range. And they were going along at a pretty good clip, where they had 596 homes by 2007, 711 in 2008, 809 at the end of 2009, and they sold 30 homes in a year in 2010, which is not really where they wanted to be selling homes. 30 homes is barely making it. But they stuck around, and after a few years, the market came back, and they did finally get to the end of the property. But that did change how things were. The older section, A and B, we maintained the front yards, and that was the original plan, was all the front yards would be maintained by the association. It was a selling point for the builder, like, hey, you're going to go out, you're active, you're going to go out on a trip, you don't have to worry about that front yard because we're going to maintain that. There were also more condos that were going to be created. And this shows, again, from the specific plan, the medium density, high density. So the high density would be the condos, or medium high density. The medium density are the monarchs, the zero lot line homes. then the others throughout the property. And there's a map in the RCN that you can see that goes through this in a little bit more detail. And I'll go through a few slides that has more, where it's zoomed in a little bit more. So here's the lodge. The original plan, if you go up Four Seasons Circle, here's White Sands, and there's Monarchs on the left side, which are homes that we maintain the front yards for. Those are the 0 lot line homes. That whole section was going to be like that. And the builder changed that, so they're not 0 lot line homes, and they're not homes that we maintain the front yards for. But that whole section was going to be different than it is now. Same thing on the other side of the street. This was going to be another section of condos. But that obviously didn't happen either. Up by the summit, more condos were going to be created up there. It was called Crestline Commons. Some of these maps you'll see that the original names totally different than the names that we have now. And again, the Trailside Swim and Tennis Club, now known as the Courts, was going to have condos by it as well. So it's going to have a lot of different home styles than we have now, but the condos didn't sell well. The Monarchs weren't selling well, so the builder, as I said, changed what they were doing. Overall, we have 5 phases in the community: A, B, C, D, and E, and a question mark, which probably won't be part of the community at this point, but that's still up for the builder. They were going to have 26 homes out there at this point. We're not sure if that's ever going to happen. It would be about $1 million for them to add sewer, and the builder's in the business to make money, and that will not make him money. So. And there's the homes in each. We also have 111 condos, which are the Springdales, 4 of which are on the Slippery Rock Creek, which is where the original models were. The models were moved up to the summit before 2014. They were up there when I got here as the assistant general manager. And again, we have 556 homes that we maintain the front yards for. One of the more popular things to do, because the builder could not do a golf course, was he made a conservancy area, which we'll talk about in a second as well, and put in trails. And one of the surveys that the community planning committee did years ago, walking and hiking was the most popular activity, because we have a lot of it. But it is still popular for the homeowners to do. It's beautiful out there. There's the A trail and the B trail, which are in red and yellow. This whole area is still owned by the builder and maintained by the builder. So they do maintenance. It might take a little bit longer than if it was Park West, but they do maintenance. We are in contact with them, and they come out if there's an issue with the sprinkler, if there's an issue with weeds, they do come out and fix it. There's been issues with the trail, and they have done repairs on that as well. But both of those trails are still owned and maintained by the builder, and that whole area is actually. And then we've got the C Trail, which goes from Green Creek Trail with a new stop sign and crosswalk all the way up through Veterans Park, and then ends up at the end, obviously, up at Plymouth Rock and Goodrich. The D Trail, which goes from the C Trail over to the Courts, and then the Edison Easement, which we call the E Trail. Makes sense when that's the Edison Easement. If you've ever walked on the A Trail all the way through, you'll go over a wooden bridge, and if you bounce on it, it bounces with you. And the board was concerned about that since it's not our bridge to maintain as of yet, and there is definitely some preventive maintenance work to do on that. We're still working with the city to see what kind of permits we're taking out on that, but we were able to put a GoPro underneath there and see that it is a metal bridge all the way across with cross lays. We believe that pipe there is for irrigation or electrical. It goes on to cement pads at both ends with rocks. So it is a very sturdy bridge, even though it might not feel like it. So feel free to hop in and jump on that. It will not break at this point. It just needs some paint and some TLC. Another older picture from the builder. You can see that is still there now. This would be the tennis courts or the pickleball courts now for the lodge. and that's Canary Creek on the right side. This is the oldest picture that I know of the lodge back in 2005. And again, it's one of the pictures that the builder gave to us before they finally departed. Looks way different. And if you remember from that picture from 2002, everything here was dirt and pretty much weeds. So everything in here has been installed by the builder or homeowners or the HOA. So I mean, this is just it's a man-made oasis. The summit was built in 2014. And the courts in March of 2017. So while everything has been built here, there have been quite a few different changes and upgrades over the course of time. This is what the ballroom looked like for the Christmas party or holiday party back in December 2014. And if you notice, there's no ballroom dance floor all the way across. So the dance floor originally was just this section. And we call these sections. There's the first section, this is the second section, bless you, and that's the third section. Bless you again. Yeah. And again, this is December here in the ballroom 2016. Now, if you notice, these look really skinny compared to what's back there now. The columns were redone because of issues with the triple truss. So when the builder first created the ballroom, the original plans, the on-site developer, unbeknownst to the engineer and architect, upgraded the partitions. So there's partitions here, both sides. They upgraded it so it's more soundproof. That upgrade also increased the weight that the architect didn't know about. So several years ago, these sides are heavier than those because they have to go farther, and it cracked the triple truss. It broke the truss above the ballroom, and when we're taking out the actual partitions, it was scraping the floor. Called the builder, they came out, determined that. It took a while because the original truss manufacturer was out of business, and they were having trouble finding a new person to actually take ownership of the issue and replace the trusses. They finally did. They upgraded it so it's actual metal. There's metal beams on both sides to hold the additional weight. And they had to put in new pillars both in the back and here, metal pillars that they had to dig down into the foundation to hold the metal beam above us. So it's good. They paid for that 100%, but it did change things. Again, that's putting in the metal beams in the back, which definitely added some size to the columns. And with that, we upgraded the dance floor, we redid the carpet, we did quite a few upgrades at that time. If you've been here for many years, you might remember waiting in line at the bistro. I also want to point out the lovely yellow carpet that we had at that time. That was all redone. So if you go out there, all the hallways, both the theater hallway and the hallway here is all tile. And that was an upgrade through reserves that you save for that the association did several years ago. And now the bistro's tableside service. One thing that we've had, many things, unfortunately, are accidents. So far, nobody's been seriously hurt or injured, which is thankful. The first known accident that I can find is in 2008 with a cement truck that rolled over. And I don't know how that happened because there's not a tree or a light pole there. They must have known it was coming because that's what we have the most of is trees and light poles that are hit often. So he must have known it was going to be there in the future and just wanted to get a first crack at it. Like I said, trees, that's not even the worst. Trees, I think the tree won. The trees normally do. Again, the tree won. The light pole, it's still there, but the bell light is not. So that one's 50-50. It kind of won, but it kind of didn't. The gatehouse has been hit multiple times. I think the vendor that has fixed that counts about 20 to 25 times he's had to come out to repair it. We've got signs out there. I mean, it's 9 feet 4 inches, and this shows even though all the rock was gone, they're hitting above the rock. I mean, and the guards have gotten a lot better. They run out like, stop, you're too tall, time out, like go on the side. But it's been U-Hauls, and they're just not, people are not used to driving a delivery truck. They're coming to pick up something and space it. We've had several hit and runs in the community. Here you can kind of see tire tracks that then go up to where the craft room is, where they hit the column there and then drove off. We tried to find a license plate, but we were not successful, and that cost the association about $8,000 to fix that we had to eat, unfortunately. That also led to the Safety and Facilities Committee, 2 separate committees, to install more cameras on the outside. So we have more cameras on the outside, so if something like that happens again, we can find, or hopefully find, who did that. Hit and runs in the parking lot where somebody backs up and doesn't realize it. That was a car just in the parking lot. That happened to my old minivan, just a little tiny dent. My minivan, I didn't really like it to begin with, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So some of our current projects, we're looking at the lodge restating, or the so it's the facilities committee is meeting right now. I don't think that they're over yet because I don't see anybody that's walked in from that. They're looking at redoing the staining out there again with some other new product, maybe throw down a way to put down colored concrete that's just a light application that would stay a lot longer and not have any issues with that. We're in the process of reslinging. That was the chair graveyard. Those are all being reslung right now, so hopefully we'll have those back before Labor Day. We're also looking at game room chair upgrades to either get new ones or reupholster the ones that we have and put the casters back on, and there's 42 of them. Not yet, but it will be now. Yeah, you brought it up. Thank you. You're welcome. And the Facilities Committee and Community Planning Committee are looking at a joint project to redo quite a few of the parking lot stalls here. One of the committee members was on a trip and went to another senior community, I believe in either Texas or Arizona, and as they do, as we have here, many people have golf carts, and we see them throughout the neighborhood. They're great. The association's getting one. It should be here in another week or so. So this would allow more parking. You could put 2 golf carts in 1 parking lot space. It's still open to cars, and it's still something that the board will look at, I don't think this month, but next month. So we'll have more information as that becomes available, but it is a project that's coming close to being completed. The technology group is looking at upgrading the Wi-Fi throughout the community centers. We installed this at the courts. So the Italian American Club tomorrow night, they're going to have I believe a iPhone game or a smartphone game that they can play with the upgraded Wi-Fi, which will be nice. And we'll have the same kind of system installed in the other clubhouses. I know, yeah, me too. Like, yeah, it should be. We tested it. It's got much more bandwidth for more phones than we currently have, but it's still something that we're slowly going through. So what things are coming up in the near future or farther future? We're still going through a construction defect case. This is a core sample that the association did, which is one of the reasons why we actually went through and have a construction defect firm that specializes in construction defects. We all know that there's tons of cracks in the street, and slurry coat is not going to fix that. And even putting in, because this is one that we did a couple years ago, even putting in crack fill is not doing it. So the association asked, well, why are we having that problem? What's the underlying issue? The core samples that we took show that could be, because we're still in the lawsuit, that there could be issues with the way that the streets were created, issues where they weren't done necessarily 100% correctly. They've done more core samplings throughout the property, and we're still in the midst of the actual case. So there's street issues in the actual streets. Oh. The picture doesn't do it justice, but this is up at the courts, which is 5 years old, and the parking lot is completely alligatored. It should not look like that in 5 years. 50 maybe, but not 5. And even the attorneys, when they came, they're like, "Whoa, that's not good." So, and again, even at the courts and at the summit, there's cracks in the stucco on the building. They were doing invasive testing, sorry. Invasive testing of the windows and water to make sure that the seals are correct. So that's still ongoing. When we get more information as far as any kind of settlement, we'll definitely let the ownership know. The plan from talking through with the defect case is that once we actually get any kind of money, then we can do more repairs. And the attorneys have said, do not do any repairs right now. So we know cracks are getting worse. We know that there's more of them. But if we fix them, then we can't claim them as part of the lawsuit. So we know that they're bad. We know that they're getting worse. I believe there's a court date later this year. So it is slowly rolling forward. Sometimes the wheels of justice do go slow. The other big item is a conservancy. Like I said, the builder still owns this. That's the lodge. And we do have an ad hoc committee, soon to be a full committee, for the conservancy to help the association onboard that. The developer needs to put up quite a bit of money into an endowment for the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District, otherwise known as the IERCD, to then help maintain that. And it's a fantastic, in my opinion, fantastic amenity. When I go walk back there, I don't hear cars, I don't hear people, I hear birds and little critters. I hope they're little critters. We've had some big critters. But I mean, I don't feel like I'm in a city. I feel like I'm in, maybe not Yosemite, because I don't see big granite faces, but I'm definitely not where I work. And the HOA would have responsibilities for the conservancy once it does come on board and we do own it. And that's something that would have to be calculated into dues in the future. Again, that's where that additional $1 million would have been really nice to have from the additional 400 homes. So did you know? So if you go out to Potrero from the main gate and turn right, there's a little strip of land, that's got grass and trees, and the trees don't always look the best, and the grass doesn't always look the best, and it's city property. So that's not something that we maintain or own. That's city. From the sidewalk to the wall, that's us. So that's property that we maintain. Also city property, if you go up to White Sands, there's the alleyway. There's a little bit of bushes that are right there, but between the wrought iron, the fence here and the fence up here, that's all city property. And they do come through and maintain that a couple times a year. They do trim it down. It might take a little bit of time, but they do come through. And then as you're driving up Four Seasons Circle and you see that big playground, we get calls a couple times a year like, how did that happen? How did ARC approve a playground? Who's got that many grandkids? Well, it's not here. That's Seneca Springs. So they're a family, I don't want to say family friendly, but they've got kids. They can have kids. They're the ones that light off fireworks at 4th of July. So, but that's definitely not us. ARC did not approve that. That's the Edison easement. And I put a question mark. It's like, what side is HOA? What side is city? And I think it's pretty obvious. The manicured, lush, green side is our property. And the other side is a city property. And the fire department comes through twice a year to cut those weeds down, but it's definitely not something that we maintain. But that little dirt road leads to that vinyl fence. So that fence is locked. Edison has the key or the code, as do our landscapers and management. So we go on that road once in a while. The landscape was up there earlier this week, maintaining the fuel mod and that area behind the homes on Arches Park and Tinkers Creek. But if you see it open and you don't see landscapers, they're not there every day, just call the office and we'll send somebody up there to relock that. Because sometimes the kids from Syndicate Springs do try to sneak in and ride their bikes through here. One of the questions that I get, and I think some of the board members get, and ARC gets, and Landscape gets, and different committees, is violations. What happens? How do we process that? And it's a private item, unfortunately. So if we have a violation that we can see, we take a picture, we'll send the owner a letter, hey, your trash cans are out all week. We give them an appropriate timetable to respond. If it's trash cans, that should be able to be put back pretty quickly. If you need to paint your house and apply to ARC, that's going to be a longer process. But any violation is going to be something that's confidential between the association and that member. The association has fined people. There's people currently that are not allowed in the clubhouse. There's people that currently don't have their transponders that are working, but we're not going to tell anybody that. So just like if you had a violation, you wouldn't want your neighbors to know what the association is doing to you. We can't tell what we're doing to that other person. The only time that things get public is if it goes to court. We do currently have a court case. I don't really want to get into it, but there is court cases pending, and that's open to the public, but we're still not going to go to the rooftop and say exactly what's happening with that. But it is a longer process, unfortunately. But it is something that we work on diligently with those homeowners. The board meets with homeowners on a monthly basis to try to find a resolution to what's happening with their specific case. And the other thing that we get lots of talks about or calls about right now is the drought. So we are in a major drought in California, in the whole West region. We've met with the Beaumont Cherry Valley Water District multiple times, both with just their general manager, and we've gone to their board meetings and presented information as far as what happens when we cut down to 8 minutes 3 times a week, which kills things quickly in the heat that we have. So they did modify their timetable. We're working with the landscapers to modify our watering schedule so that we water appropriately to what they want. They want a 30% reduction right now. Now, that could go up to 40%. That could go up to 50%. Hopefully it doesn't. Once you get past 40, 50%, we're going to see turf die again, unfortunately. But if we don't follow their guidance and their, not a recommendation, but what they're saying to do, we can be fined per our water bill, which our water bills are quite hefty, so those fines would be quite hefty as well. They can also remove and turn off the meter, so we can't even water even if things go back to normal. So we did turn off the fountains. That was one of the things that they said, no decorative fountains. I know that there's other associations in the area, not necessarily across the street, but others that still have theirs on, and that's on them. But the board here does the right thing and turned things off, worked with the district to try to come up with a situation or try to get it where we're not going to have turf die, but we're still following their guidance. So, questions? There's some that were written down. Let's see. First one, dispute with KHAV, cracks in the streets. How much do we owe attorneys? Nothing. They are on contingency, so they will, when they win, they'll get a percentage, as will we. I think they get 33% and we get the rest, which the board felt was better than laying out a lot of fees for attorneys before we won anything. Let's see. How often do we have street sweeping? We do not have street sweeping anymore. We used to do it once a month. As a cost-saving measure, we canceled that a couple months ago, but the board is looking at reinitiating that to be at least once every few months, once a quarter, once every 6 months, because we do see some unintended consequences of that with debris piling up with pine needles and other things. Why are you watering my front yard every day? We should not be. So if I could talk to the person that had that, we can modify their irrigation so it's not. How can we get a new green barrel? Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the city. Good to know. And we are working with Waste Management and the city for green barrels in the condos and in the Monarchs, the zero lot line homes. Those people don't do their own yard maintenance, so they have no need or space for a green bin. So an unintended consequence of the change to put your food waste in the green bin, how can they comply if they don't have a green bin? So we've talked with Waste Management. They're trying to set up something with the city so that we can talk with them, find out a way that we can have small green bins delivered to homeowners or some kind of situation so that those owners aren't violating the law because they don't want to. No water in fountain. We have mitigate pump seals. We have worked with we're working with the vendor to make sure that the seals are still going to be fine when we do turn the pumps back on. There was a concern that the sides and the plaster would go bad and crack, and that's not the case. But the seals, we are having them do preventive maintenance for that. That's for the Banning warehouse. I don't have an update for the Banning warehouse. I know the Sun Lakes and other groups are fighting the warehouse. I know the association here, I believe, supports that fight. We will have an email about the Summit station, which is 98% warehouse, even though the text messages that went out from the developer made it sound like it was just a really nice, fun place to go to. It's another warehouse, so we're going to have information out on that before the Beaumont City meets again, so that we can hopefully stop that. It's over by the big Cherry Valley warehouse. It's like on the other side of the street. So more warehouses, unfortunately. Enforcement of pool rules. We are having some issues with guests at the pool not following the rules or running stop signs or other things. I mean, that's just people don't always necessarily follow the rules. We have our lodge attendants going out. We're trying to have them out at least once an hour. We're watching the camera, so if we see something on the camera in the office, we go over and say, hey, you can't have your 50-foot inflatable raft in here. Very sorry. So it is something that we're working through. And that's the only ones that I had written down. Oh, I got one in the back.
The recently redecorated lobby area, it looks unfinished. It needs some greenery or something on the mantle. There's not enough color in there, and it's not very pleasing to the eye.
I would say that beauty's always in the eye of the beholder. We had a homeowner that is a decorator that volunteered his time to help redecorate the lodge. We were able to use his industry discounts for that, and it's definitely a change. I know there's many people that like the mantelpiece as it was, but currently the mantle would stay as it is unless the board looks at changing that out in the future. Oh, yeah.
We have one that just came in. This person's asking how many people actually live in Four Seasons.
How many people? Well, we're going to have the age verification go out again in the next month, but I believe the last I saw was 3,500 people live here.
Hi. We're over in the last section on Sam's Canyon.
Okay.
Okay. And besides Sam's Canyon, you go around on the Scarlet Runner.
Yes.
There's a large bank behind all of us here, and there's homes up above.
Yes.
It looks like the builder was in a hurry to get out of that section because they didn't do a very good job landscaping, and most of the area looks bad. Is there any chance of having that area brought up to the standard that's in the rest of the community?
Is it the slopes themselves that is the
It's the
concern?
plantings. Some of them are dead, some of them are sparse. A lot of the ornamental grass is a bad variety that looks dead almost all the time.
Okay.
There's a lot of bare areas where there's a lot of mulch. The mulch is almost gone. It just looks really threadbare. Whereas you look at other banked areas and other landscaped areas, the plantings are nicely planted together and you make a nice green mass and it's well manicured and trimmed. It's just a stark difference from it and the rest of the community.
We can have the landscape committee look at that. Just to confirm, are we talking about the slope that's going from like Sam's Canyon up to Mock Bluff?
I
Or the
believe
slope
that's
that's from Sam's Canyon down to the Conservancy area?
net down to Green Creek. No,
So up to Mock Bluff?
yes, going up to the houses on the
Okay.
top of the hill.
We can have landscape look at that again.
Okay, appreciate it. Also, speaking of the street cleaning, right there at the entrance to Sam's Canyon, somebody dumped a bunch of dirt this past week, and now it's just all over the place, and the water from the lawns have carried it all the way down the street. There's mud all over the place, so I don't think there's any way of getting somebody out there to clean that, but
We'll take a look at
it
that.
looks bad.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's me again.
How you
Sorry.
again? No, not at all.
I was just wondering, before the pandemic, we had voted on chair styles and all that for the theater. And I'm just wondering what the status of that project is. Those theater seats are getting pretty threadbare.
So that is an ongoing project. The facilities committee and finance and the board approved a vendor, but that vendor was actually in Canada. And so to get the correct insurance to protect the association, they were using a third-party delivery company, and they were having trouble getting their insurance. That is something the facilities is looking at again right now, or were, to choose another vendor that's American-made, so that we don't have those issues. So that's something that's ongoing. Okay, in the back?
Yes. Almost every time that we come down to the lodge to eat in the bistro, or we're just enjoying whatever's going on here, there's always people traipsing through next to the bistro and through that newly decorated lodge area by the fireplace in their swimsuits and their noodles. And everybody keeps looking at each other and they say, why didn't they put a different entrance and exit for the pool so that the people don't have to traipse through this beautifully new decorated area or traipsing through while we're having a meal? Has there been any consideration for that?
Well, the board actually looked at that last month and decided not to go forward with any kind of additional entrance or exit for the pool area. The board wants, and I agree, as we know, if people aren't following rules when you're not looking, if there's nobody at that entrance to help monitor that, you could have somebody open the gate and have 50 people come through that don't live here, or a family that's got more kids than is safe or allowed. So the board chose for those reasons not to install another access point. If there's not a class in session, yes, you could theoretically, yeah.
It's very difficult for a handicapped person to walk from that area all the way down this area. We'll give you park right here and enter some entrance that would be a little bit nicer.
And I think the board understands that, and we can, on a case-by-case basis, if there's somebody that's severely handicapped and cannot go that far, we can come and open the door or let them in if they fob in. We can take their fob. That happens. There's a couple of people that go to meetings or events in the RCN. They can't walk that entire distance, and they come through the front of the office building, and we let them in. I was saying that on a case-by-case basis, we can help assist people as need be. So if somebody's severely handicapped and cannot make it back to the pool, we can open up another entrance for them on a case-by-case basis. And I understand that, and I think the board does too, but they were still looking at the issue of some of the things I had brought up. The courts could be another option for that. It's much closer parking lot. It has a fantastic gym, and the pool's right there, and you can exit and be right at the parking lot because the exit gates go straight out. So the courts could be an option as well. Okay, all right. Fair enough. Another question. Yes, sir.
Yes, we used to open the swimming pools at 6 o'clock. Why can't we open at 6 now? And
So the question for people that couldn't hear is that the lodge pool is open at 6 in the morning, and why can't we do that again? I would say that was a decision by the board to set the hours of the facility. They had changed, the budget was changed for this year to have the summit and the courts be 12-hour days to help with staffing costs, because we can't just have the building open with no staff there. So again, to have the building open another hour earlier would be a budget question with the board and finance committee to see if there's money allocated or able to fund that. Yes, Mr. Wilson. Oh, hold on one sec. Microphone's coming.
Is there a date where K-Hove can be forced to make a settlement on the cracks in the road, or is it just going to drag on forever? Because to my knowledge, it's been going on for 4 years already. So, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. So, is there a way that we can force them to come to a conclusion, whether it's no, we're never going to do it, so you guys have to do it, or we'll pay for it, or we'll pay half, or whatever it is. But this has just been dragging on for so long, and the roads are really deteriorating.
Yeah, I think we all understand that. There's no way to actually say you have to do it today, but we do have active court cases against the builder for that. So it is ongoing. I would anticipate it'd be another year at most. But if we have any updates on a court date or what happens at court, we'll let the ownership know as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. Any other questions? If not, then just let us know. Let's give Eric a big hand.
Or Sweet James, yeah.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have said, let's give Sweet James. Thank you so much. And next month, we will have San Gregorian Hospital here, the director of San Gregorian. So be sure and come out. They have been given, actually, San G has been given quite a bit of money from Morongo, and this is going to help us. They're going to now become a stroke center so that if things happen, people don't have to go far away. The next plan that they have is to become a trauma center, because that if you fall now or something happens traumatically, then you don't have to go all the way to Riverside or whatever. So be sure and come out. We thank you all for coming. Did you have anything that you wanted to say about the Conservancy? You? All righty. Thank you again, everyone. We will see you then next week.